Virgin Island episode 1. If you haven't heard of this show, it's about 12 virgins who go on an island to learn about intimacy and possibly lose their virginity, and it's on Channel 4. And I seen the trailer for this, and even I thought, I don't know if I'm going to be able to watch this, but I gave it a go. The actual balls that a person would have to go on this show is astronomical. Some of the things that they were doing and witnessing as virgins was, I can't even imagine being in that situation. As somebody who's not a prude whatsoever, I just kept thinking about if you were a virgin and you hadn't experienced anything like this at all, and this was, you were watching these things that they were watching, and you were watching it in a group setting as well. I don't know what to say. I'm almost never speechless. I personally know quite a few adult virgins, right? So when I heard of this show, I didn't really think it was that much of a big deal, but it said at the start that there's like, I don't know if it's like 20-something% of adults in the UK are virgins, and I can see why that is, because I've got friends on dating sites, and the stuff that they have got to put up with just to meet somebody, or the things that people expect for you without even meeting you. I mean, it's a lot worse for back in the day when I was on a dating website, I'll give you that, but it's just off-putting. No wonder there's so many adult virgins in the UK. And might I add, none of these people are virgins because there's anything wrong with them. I think a few of them might be a bit autistic because they do have problems with like touching stuff. But there's plenty of people out there who aren't autistic who don't like to be touched, do you know what I mean? But that's just the kind of way it was coming across to me. So they went on this island, and I think it's like an intimacy retreat. I don't really know the whole point in the island, right? But they went in, and they've got these coaches, and they were like that, right? Ask each other if you can do something. So I think it was supposed to be like, can I touch your hair? Can I give you a kiss or whatever? And one of them was like, can I feed you a lion? And the girl was like, no. So the coaches were like, right, they're obviously not getting the point of this. So we're going to do an exercise where they call it up against the wall. And the two coaches, the guy like pinned the woman up against the wall in like a sexual way, right? That would have been all fine and well. But it was the noises she was making, and I was thinking, like, noises for what reason? So much noise, you'd have thought he was inside her up to his fucking elbow. This video's not for kids, by the way, just in case you didn't know. But I just felt like the noise was unnecessary, and it made it like more cringe than it had to be. So this is Emma, and she's got self-confidence issues, and she says that when she was in school she was like the fat ugly friend, and she never felt like anybody would want to be intimate with her or whatever. So when she was watching this up against the wall thing, she started crying because she says, oh, I feel as if nobody's ever going to want to touch me like that. And it's an absolute shame because she comes across as just such a lovely girl, and there's nothing even wrong with the way she looks. So they left the workshop, and one of the guys was like, this feels really culty. I was thinking the exact same thing. However, I think to me any retreat comes across as culty. So the coaches noticed that Emma was crying during the up against the wall challenge, and they decide to take her for some touch therapy. And she goes into this room with this French guy, and he's like, oh, let's just see like what you're comfortable with. So he says, I'll touch your knee, right? And then he's putting his hand up her knee. I don't know if any of you used to play nervous when you were in school, but you used to put your hand up somebody's leg and then they'd tell you when they were nervous. It was a lot like that, right? But even I was thinking, as an experienced adult, right, I wouldn't want a random person who I don't fancy like touching me. I wouldn't be uncomfortable with it, right? But obviously she's not used to people touching her. I don't know, it didn't feel right to me. Not to mention the fact that you've got cameras pointing at you and you know it's going to be on TV. It just is fucking awkward as fuck. So one of the guys was in touch therapy, and I think it was this guy, but he was in with this stunning woman, right? And she's like, we'll just try and like stand close to each other, and she's maybe like this away, right? And he's like, right, oh, that's too much. That's like 90%, like that's too much, like out my comfort zone. And I thought, fuck, he can't even have somebody standing next to him. There's obviously a lot of underlying issues here. So this is Zach, and he is at the fucking top of his class, right? One of the therapists took him in for touch therapy, and absolutely beautiful looking woman, right? She looks a lot older than him, but she's like, oh, I'm going to touch you and I'm going to kiss you and stuff, right? And he was into it. He was making the noises. I don't, why are they making noises when they're just kissing? But obviously she's doing it to make it more sensual, you know. And then she's like, oh, I can feel that you're more aroused and all that. And I was just like, I don't know about this. Zach, on the other hand, he's like, ah, yes, best day of my life. So she was saying, oh, you're really sexy and all that, and he left the class and he's like, oh, nobody's ever called me sexy before. He's actually so cute, right? Bless him, man. They had to do a workshop where they brought in things that they wanted to let go that kind of symbolises why they feel insecure or whatever. And Tom brought in a necklace and says that he bought it for a girl he went to uni with, and before he gave it to her, she basically rejected him, and he didn't take the rejection very well. Emma had a picture of herself when she was a child, and she was trying to let go of the fact that she thought she was ugly and like her self-confidence issues. And Zach had a Rubik's Cube because he says he felt like he treats like relationships like a puzzle. So they all had different things, right? And then they were talking about it. And I was like, right, okay, they were all getting emotional. So in day 2, they had to write down their sexual fantasy. And a lot of them were really struggling with it, right? Zach was in. He's like that, oh yes, here we go. And then you just knew what they were going to ask them next, right? You just knew that they were going to ask them to read it out or share it with everybody. Oh my God, like, just the thought of doing this and a group of people that you don't know. It's different if you were in like a retreat that was for writers, or I don't know, it just, to me, it's the thought of like being a virgin, being with people that you don't know, and then being through in the deep end like this. I know that sometimes you just need through in the deep end, right? But some of them were just getting up and they were just kind of making it funny. They weren't really saying anything about sex or anything. But Zach, he's like that. He read his out and he's like, oh, that's just chapter 1. He is absolutely having the best time. This whole show, I just kept thinking, oh my God, these people are so fucking brave, man. They're just meeting these people that they don't even know. They're being vulnerable in front of them. They're doing it in front of cameras. They're watching things that they never usually watch. Like, a lot of them have never even watched, like, tapes or anything, right? And it's just the fact that they're doing it, I was just like, fucking hats off to them. Couldn't be me. When Emma had to read her story, she says, what I'm looking for in a man is somebody who doesn't have any expectations of me, who's got a big heart, who's just genuine. And I don't know, I was taking notes, right, about the show, and my eyes were pure watering because I thought her fantasy is literally just to have somebody accept her as a person. Honestly, man, it was breaking my heart. And after it, she was like, I'm feeling much more confident. So emotional. Ben was talking to one of the girls, Charlotte, and he's like, oh, I think you're really confident. Oh, I think you're really pretty, right? And he's like kind of flirting with her, and I was like, oh, this is so cute. So the counsellors are very impressed with Zach's progress, right? And they take him in to see these 2 therapists. One of them speaks to you about any feelings that comes up during the other therapy sessions, and the other one is a surrogate partner, right? So basically they're like, right, this surrogate partner therapist is allowed to like fully have sex with him. So I'm like, that's just like prostitution, right? Am I even allowed to say that on TikTok? It's like legal prostitution. Am I allowed to say that? So she starts off like stroking his arms and all that with her arms on her face, and then they swap over and he has a shot, and then he's like, oh, I'm ready to stop. And she says, oh, why did you want to stop? And he says, oh, I want to take things further. And she's like, oh, this is just the first session. Basically, she's like, calm your pants, mate. But Zach's ready to go. He's like, I want to lose my virginity on the island. Let's do this. It shows you a clippy next time, and I think it's going to be even harder for me to watch. I'll be like that, oh my God, what the fuck's going on? Is this the most dramatic reality TV I've ever watched? No, but it's certainly making me feel a bit something. Awkward. Let me know if you watched this and what you thought of it. I'm going to watch another episode and see what I think of it. But I'll see you again then. Bye.